Hello, episode 12 now, the penultimate episode, and we got a lot to cover in these two eps, and last ep was ridiculous, just incredible episode, presentation-wise, the way it contrasts with Tomari's backstory, the way you question everything that Uika's talking about or Hatsune's talking about. It was a perfect episode. It's up there with like Maigo 10, Maigo 3, Ave Mujica 10, like all the strongest episodes so far. It's really up there. And there was a lot of outrage about the familial reveal, but a lot of it was quite reactionary, and it died down a bit after the initial like I guess crashing of the ship, so to say. People kind of realized the value in it, and that there is more to Uika and Saki's relationship than just a cute ship. And their ship has always been not cute, really, throughout the whole series. And if you read the lyrics and all that, and the lives, it's not a healthy ship, that's for sure. And now it's really pretty explicit in that. So yeah, episode 12, looking like Saki's going to go to the island to save Uika in Hatsune in some way. I don't really know how that's going to go down, but I'm worried that, knowing Saki, she will blame herself, because she'll just do some kind of roundabout logic and make it so that it's her fault. And two, she will forgive Hatsune a little bit too easily. But this is an episode that is written in the credits by Uika Ayana, so I have faith. I have a lot of faith in her in particular. Not to say I don't have faith in Kakimoto and the other staff members, but Uika Ayana in particular has a perfect understanding of the series, and Sakiko in particular, the Maigo as well. So yeah, it's a pretty big episode. It will kind of determine how well the series ends. Because like I said, we've got a lot to cover. I'm not expecting them to kind of tie up all the loose ends very neatly, given we have the game and the joint live. The joint live especially, I think, will act as a maybe an epilogue or finale in itself to the anime. But yeah, this is Nontan's Psycho's VA's favourite episode, so I'm excited for that. And oh yeah, the other thing was, a lot of people were speculating about Uika and how much, or Hatsune, and how much she's the weaver of lies herself, and how much she's actually telling the truth here, and how much she's lying, and how much, or even if it's intentional or unintentional lies. I really hope they don't kind of backtrack on everything that happened in episode 11. It would feel like a pretty big waste of time if they did that, and I would be surprised if they did that. But I think there's definitely some things in there that can be questioned and can be reinterpreted and recontextualized, like the original Uika's whole existence. I'm not convinced that she's real. The stuff with Kyotsuku and Sadaharu, their conversations, how she got scouted immediately when she came to Tokyo. There's a lot of like details here and there that could very well just be as they are, but they could also be like completely changed in this episode and going forward. But we'll see. This is the penultimate episode, so I just got to strap in and like I really don't really know what kind of direction they're going to go. Obviously, it's pretty clear what's going to happen this episode, but how they're going to go about it is what I'm most worried about and interested in. So yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. Is this Saki going to Switzerland? Whether she'll run off or not, I don't know.
このままスイスというわけですのね。気の身気のまま行かせるおつもり？
旦那様のお言いつけです。ご用命があれば後ほど。
There's a bit of a... She's not as
あっけない幕切れですわ。
obedient.
彼女たちの人生を逃げずに背負うと覚悟した矢先に、これが神様の決めた運命だとでも言うんですもん。私はいつもそう。抗っても抗っても
Oh.
すべて濁流に流される。
Defy it, Sakiko. The umbrella, like, Maiko, flying away.
さき工場様。
危険です。止まって。
Keep going. Oh, the grace. It's on the zombie's bandage.
アテネ、帰りなさい。
What? Oh no. That's not good. Umanako. It's just, like, they love it. But she just went straight to it. Hell yeah, Saki. Damn.
.戸川のお嬢さんをほっぽるなんてしないよ。どこ行くの？
ありがとうございます。ミスミさんという方のお宅は？
ああ、本土に引っ越したよ。お姉ちゃんなら、
お姉様？その方はどちらに？
Okay, we're gonna find out if she exists. I'm not. This is gonna be really strange. Is that actually Uika?
どうして？あなたが帰るとしたらこの島しかありませんわ。帰るところなんて。
That tone of voice, like she's.
もう帰った方が。
There's no mask up now.
私とは会わない方が。帰りませんわ。帰りません。どうしてお返事くださらなかったの？おじい様の言いつけ？初音さんはおじい様とどういう関係？おじい様の娘？うん。お母さんがここの管理人をしてた。私が生まれて辞めたから、さきちゃんは会ったことないよね。隠し子ということ？戸籍上は他人だから、戸川の相続順位は犯されないよ。そんな話してませんわ。あなたは初音さんですのよね。ウイカというのはいわゆる偽名？私の妹の名前。私 私より活発で虫取りが好きでアイドルになりたかったのが本物のウイカ。
Now, where is she
さきちゃん
now
に
is the
会いたく
question.
てウイカのふりをしたんだ。ずっと嘘ついててごめん、ごめんなさい。これからどうなさるの？住み込みで管理人をさせてもらえることになったから学校も転校すると思う。それでいいんですの？え？スミミは？アベムジカは？いつか終わりが来るって分かってた。アイドルもバンドも見逃してもらえてただけ。明日終わるかも今日かもって毎日怖かった。いっそ何もかも捨てて楽になりたいって思ったこともあったけどダメだった。私が声をかけてしまったから。違う、嬉しかった。
It's not your fault, Saki.
誰かの代わりでも。嬉しかったんだ。サキちゃんに必要とされて私が全部忘れさせてあげたかった。できるわけないのに、嘘だらけの私が叶うはずないのに。はい。誰しも秘密の一つや二つ持ってますわ。それを全て共有しなくても裏切ってるなんて思わない。私だって知ってる。サキちゃんがお父さんとどういう生活をしていたか。
Yeah, she knows about it.
元凶だから。最後のピンだよ。ねえ、来てくださらない？サキちゃん、サキちゃん、港は？別の場所みたいですわね。あ、汚いよ。
Same spot.
ですもの。虫入りよ。虫苦手ですの？うん。虫取りの時、大きな雲に驚いて叫んだのは私じゃない。浜辺で綺麗な貝殻を拾ったのは違う。バラの木陰で一緒にクッキーを食べたのはそれじゃあウイカと遊んだ思い出はほとんどウイカのだよ。全部ウイカの。ウイカはアイドルになれますわ。私じゃない。この島も悪くないんだ。星が綺麗だから。サキちゃんと出会えて少しでも一緒にいられてすごく幸せだった。幸せなんて言える立場じゃないけどこの思い出があるから生きていけると思う。だからご自分のことばかりですのね。でも分かったことが一つありますわ。ここで一緒に星を見ましたわね。あれはあなた？やっぱり星が好きなのは初音ね。サキちゃん。初音、帰りますわよ。どこに？東京に決まってますわ。近道使えばフェリーに間に合いますわよ。獣道だよ。
Saki is just too good of a girl. Like,
のうちにお腹に入れておいた方がよろしくてよ。さきちゃん、やっぱりいけないよ。無理やり連れてこられたって私のせいにすればいいですわ。そんなのダメだよ。私たちは運命共同体。あなたの人生くださったのではなくて、さきちゃんを裏切ってたんだよ。私がさきちゃんをなかったことにしません？え？何を？あなたと私を取り巻く不幸と後悔、しがらみのすべて。それってすべてを忘れてなかったことにするんですわ。そうすれば何にもとらわれない。そんなことできないよ。許されない。いい加減うんざりですわ。誰が許さないの？誰が決めたの？どうして言うことを聞かなくちゃいけないの？初にも外れですわ。このバカ
God, that must have felt so good for Saki.
私怒ってるんです。
Hmm.
私の覚悟を甘く見ないでちょうだい。
The Uika Tomo parallels and still there.
Oh, これ全部入るだけでいいですわ。
細泥のような真似を。
荷物を取りに来ただけですわ。
初音、サキ子を連れてきた時点でお前の役割は終わったはずだが。
初音、さきちゃんのそばにいさせてください。あなたに戸川の家に迷惑は。
あの男と同じ鉄を踏むつもりか。今すぐ出て行け。金輪際戸川の敷居を。
That's your daughter, bro.
戸川ってそんなに偉いんですか？
Yeah, it's
私た
all
ちが何をした
bullshit.
って言うんですの？到底受け入れられません。
お前は戸川の家の恐ろしさを。
おじけづいているのはおじい様でしょ。私も出て行きます。もうおじい様の言いなりにはなりません。二人で暮らします。さきちゃん、お父様のことよろしくお願いします。おじい様の顔ったら鳩に豆鉄砲とはまさにあれですわ。ありがとう。死んじゃうかと思った。私も。虫。ああ、虫ですの？ちょっと初音。あら初音、そこにもおりますわよ。ちょっと怖い。それ。
The mother watching.
これからどうする？この世界はどうにもならないことだらけで、確かなものなんて揺るぎのないものなんて 何一つありませんわ。怖い？ううん、サキちゃんと一緒なら。あ、うみれちゃん忘れてましたわ。これからさすがに顔出さないと。コーヒー入れるからもうちょっと寝てていいよ。サキちゃん大好き。運命に、世界に背を向けても何かが変わるわけではありませんわ。この小さな世界はきっといつか終わる。朝夢から覚めるように、突然嫌おうなく。けれどできるだけ、もう少しだけまどろみに浸っていたい。この匂い嫌いですわ。
Interesting. What an interesting monologue. To Tomory.
ともりんおはよう。ともりへ、先日はアベムジカの問題に巻き込んでしまい申し訳ありません。何？
ああ。
違った？この前浮気ですか？何なの？
This feels at the end.
私自身の覚悟が足りなかったせいです。
Oh no.
皆さんを振り回し。また何か植えるの？こうよ。
What's me?
あなたにはみっともないところばかりお見せしました。たくさん傷つけてごめんなさい。あえて傷つけるような言葉を投げつけたこともありましたわね。
He's fixing his ship. Good for him.
けれどともりはそれでも私に言葉をくれて救い上げてくれました。初めて出会った頃のように。あ、なのに春日陰の歌詞の中でともりは言っていたけれど、私にとってもクライシックは光でしたわ。あの時離さないでと願ったあなたは今誰の手も離さない。ともりのようにはできないけれど、私も私なりに自分のバンドを守っていきます。ありがとう。これからの人生に幸多からんことを。
I wish you happiness.
必要だって分かってる。でも愛も悲しみは、恐れは、忘却は、死は。恐れるなかれ、ご自分の姿をよくご覧になって。付き合ってくれるわけ？
Is it? What's going on with me, Mortis?
どうぞ、アモーリス。まくるわけにはいかんどたいね。フライヤー、みんなもらってくれるかな。秒でなくなれって。秒ではなくならない。
Mofonica. Oh, and Saki.
いいね。頑張ろう。ごきげんよう。ごきげんよう。最短で再デビューいたします。再デビュー？解散したバンドが復活することはままありますか？また事務所に所属するの？ええ、いいけど最短ってニャム？ウミリ？別に。
Same as Taki in Ep 12.
私たちは一刻も早く強靭なバンドとなる必要があります。私悟りましたの。運命を甘んじて受け入れる必要はない。神様などいない。ですから私が神になります。神？
Oh, Saki, I love you.
何でも使いますし、何でもいたしますわ。戸川さん？どうしてくださる？
スミミはしばらく活動休止でソロの仕事に集中させるしか。後ほどかけ直します。
アベムジカの件でお話が。
ウイカちゃんにも言ったけど、あなたのおじい様の許可がないと。
そんなもの必要ありませんわ。私を誰だと思ってますの。アベムジカのオブリビオニス、戸川咲子ですわ。
Is that the end? Yep. It might be. Oh my god. Kind of performance, yeah. And a Maiko performance. Is it a joint live? Whoa, that was insane. What? So that was ep 12. And that very much felt like the end. And what we're getting in episode 13 is a concert with all of them, similar to what Maiko had in episode 12. And there's like a part of me that really wants the drama and the toxicity and there to be another reveal on something else. But these girls just deserve to be happy, and they deserve a happy ending. It's gonna be like this whole ep felt a bit like a fever dream because it went too well, and the one thing I'm the happiest about is Saki becoming the true hero. Saki taking responsibility, and Saki defying fate itself. This was not the role that she was supposed to play. But she's God. She's oblivious. Do you think any of that matters to her? After all she's been through? Such a trivial thing as fate doesn't apply to Saki. She's built different, so to say. And it just feels really strange in general for me to finish watching Ave Mujica app and being like, and just feeling good and feels like a weight off my shoulders, and I can breathe properly. Let's just get into it and just talk about it again. Okay, so obviously we start at the airport, going to Switzerland. And we already see Saki being a bit defiant. She's like, so I'm going right away? Like, do you plan to send me with nothing but my clothes on? And she's questioning everything that's happened up to this point, and how through her struggles and everything she goes through, she just gets caught up in it and doesn't ever fight it. It just, if such misery is to happen to her, that's just how it's supposed to be. There's no reason to question it or fight back against it. And she reminisces on everything that's happened, and she says, no, this isn't right. She runs away, just fucking runs into the middle of an airport, by the way. Slips over. We get the greys. I really hope Tomori sees that and gives her a plaster, a bandage like we had in episode 3 flashback. Please, 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 please. That needs to happen. So I don't know how long it's going to be between this episode and the next one, whenever Saki sees Tomori again, please, we need that. But at the same time, we don't. Because she can put the bandage on herself now. She doesn't have to rely on other people as strongly as she has been. That's not true. She hasn't been relying on people. She doesn't have to depend on other people and have her... She was saved by Tomori, but this time she can save herself. So whether they do actually have Tomori give her a bandage, great. If they don't, great. She looks back on it all and she runs, and we get the ending. We get the ending first. It's almost like the story is supposed to end here. This is where fate has brought the story to end. It's not supposed to be a happy ending. Oh, it's so good. 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 And I think there's kind of like a meta angle to this, where I don't think anyone was really expecting this episode to be an as happy episode as this one is, and a kind of a conclusion, a conclusive episode as this one is. And it seemed that, like, even at the start, it seemed, I just wasn't sure whether it would go Saki's way, or if there would be another twist in the tale, or that kind of thing. But Saki just defies it all, because she can do what she wants. She can be whoever she wants to be. And it's such the message, it's so similar to all the other BanG Dream entries. And I think that's so fucking awesome that, oh my god, Saki is just amazing. I'm actually just fucking losing myself thinking about Saki and how perfect this is for her. Because I had some worries during this episode, but they've kind of all just subsided and they've been defied completely. And I'll get to them when I get to them, because they're, and I mentioned them before the episode as well. But I'm just so happy with how this has turned out. Actually, tossed by the waves, but does not sink. So he says, they moved to the mainland. I can't tell if that's him trying to like cover it up, or whether he is talking about Uika, the real Uika. I assume so. So Uika's in Tokyo. This is like one of the things I'm like, this is one of two things, by the way, that I'm like, how are they gonna bring this up? Are they going to resolve this? Are they going to question it, kind of thing? This is the first one. And it's, what the hell has happened to Uika? Like, where is she? What is she doing? How does she fucking feel about all this? Does she even know about all this? Like, there's so much about Uika that can be explored. But, I mean, to us, it doesn't really matter, because we don't know her. We never did know her. Like, I'm sure it's very possible we get a scene between Saki and the real OG Uika, but we don't. I think we just. I just want some I'm trying to think of the word. I'm really like struggling to put sentences together right now, but I need just to be like, I really can't think of the word. It's like right there. I just need to be for them to be like, yeah, this is what Uika's doing, and this is how she feels, kind of thing. But I don't want it to be delved into too much because we don't have the time to do that. And quite frankly, we don't need to do that because it's basically adding in another character right at the end of the show. I think what would be really cool is Sakiko to go see Uika, and we get a little conversation between them and everything. Whether Uika ends up actually becoming an idol and joining Sumimi in Hatsune's place, then I don't know. But there's potential there. There's still stuff that can be explored. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that is drama that gets explored in the games. That I wouldn't. I think that would actually be quite a good direction to go with it. But we just got to see. We get to the villa, and I'm just gonna call this Uika now because that's what she seemingly wants to be called. That's what she's gonna be called by everyone else. And we see Uika, and she's just now a kind of a caretaker at the villa. And she's just like, why have you even come back to me? Like, why have you even entertained the idea of coming back to someone like me? So Uika explains everything to Saki. And funnily enough, she's not that taken aback by it. Because the amount of fucking shit she's gone through and been through, and the amount of fucking bullshit she's had to deal with, this is just another one to add to the list. And it's like, at this point, fucking whatever, you know? Like, sure. It's what that meme, it's just the woman, it's just like, what the hell, like, whatever, sure, like that kind of thing. Like, it's literally that. So I can assume that the OG Uika does exist, and that's fine. I mean, it would have been interesting if it wasn't, and it was just kind of a psychological thing with Hatsune. But yeah, like I mentioned before, I just kind of want a bit of closure regarding that. Just yeah, but so she just lays it all out how it is. Apologizes we have the very obvious visual barrier, and she just plans to stay here and not kind of forget about it all. Because, like she said, she was expecting this at some point, and she got her fair share of happiness with Saki, and she got a good deal in life, in like considering how badly it went early on. Yeah, like she was living as if it all could just end at any moment, which is really sad, and it kind of just does add another interesting facet to her character. And like the whole last episode, I mentioned it, I kind of showed it on Twitter, but Uika quickly became my favourite character in the show, and this just kind of reinforces that as well. Honestly, Saki might be at this point. Kind of got to see what they do in the last episode, but yeah. But like, Uika obviously presents herself for all of this and everything that she did, but it's interesting to see how aware of that she was while she was living, and she knew that yeah, this could all just end at any moment because of this isn't what I'm supposed to be. I'm living a lie. It all could just tumble down at any moment, and she makes the most of it. She really does. She ends up living with Saki. Obviously, Ave Mujica, she tries her best with that. Sumimi activities. I think that is genuinely it's a really interesting insight to how she was living and how she was thinking during that entire time. And Saki here almost blames herself. She's like, was it because in this, and because I know, no, like this isn't something you need to take responsibility for. And Saki talks about the secrets, and then well, obviously this was something that she kept from Uika the whole time. Well, obviously that she knew about it, but her whole family situation, she kept that from everyone. Obviously apart from Mutsumi, and then the Maigo girls found out. I don't think the Ave Mujica members even know about that, apart from like obviously Mutsumi, which is interesting, by the way. And obviously Uika, we found out knew about it. So then Uika tells Sakiko about that whole situation. And Saki, this like it's the obviously he says the last ferry is about to port, and it's like Saki should get on that ferry and go back home, but instead she climbs the mountain along with Uika, and it feels very symbolic. There's a way home, but instead she'll climb the mountain with Uika and stay with her. There's a lot in this episode that, like, I can't really describe why it's so good and why it works so well. And I'm sure I'll be able to find the words in a week's time after I've mulled it over and talked about it on Twitter and discussed it in the comments and all that, but on the surface it feels like a very typical happy ending, a very typical, oh look, they're all back together as a band now, everyone's happy. But there's so much more to it. Like, there's so much more going on in this episode. It's not just your typical like satisfactory ending. And it works really well, and like I said, I can't really explain why, but just the story beats and the way it flows works really, really well for me. And it's mainly because of Saki's character and how they've handled her, which is one of my biggest worries. But it seems fine. It seems almost perfect. And obviously we go back to the spot where this Uika and Saki hang out that day that we were shown by Uika last episode. And she asks all these questions about what they did together when they were younger. And she's aware that they weren't her, but she's like, what about this scenery? These stars. These stars, these are some that she recognised that, and we saw it in the episode where she said, you're usually bright like the sun, but this time you're, I can't remember what the word exactly, maybe like serene or something like the moon, or something like that, but, and she remembers that as well, which is really interesting and really cool. And we get that you only think about yourself line, which we heard Saki say to Soyo in episode 7 of Maigo, 8 of Maigo, but now like the state that Saki's in is such a completely different line to someone that has to a character that has paralleled Soyo a lot this season, and it could have gone badly like it did with Soyo. I mean, it pretty much did. It got a lot worse than it did with Soyo, but this time Saki says that line in a much more light-hearted, genuine way. And I'm just getting emotional thinking about it, but for someone like Uika who has such a flimsy sense of self and relied on Saki to basically stay alive and be an individual, for that person that she relied on to acknowledge something about her personally, something that she personally loves, the stars. Like, wow. That must, like, that, like, wow. Just thinking about that makes me really emotional. So we're gonna move on from it and look at that face. She's like, that's just too much. And we just get this Saki back, this Kreischick. It is not a face we've even remotely seen in Ave Mujica. This kind of expression. So let's just go back home. And we get this scene, and this is where I was worried about Saki forgiving Uika too easily. And she says, like, it's Saki shaping her own fate with her own words, and she's saying our destinies are one. This is something that I've decided. This isn't something that fate and destiny have decided. She's like, I'm deciding that our destinies are one. Me and you and Ave Mujica and Kreischick. This is something that she has become adamant about. It's not like before where she believed this, but then something happens and it's all swept away, and she's like, oh, well, I guess that's just how it is. That's just it. I can't really do anything to fight that. But now she's like, no, our destinies are one. I'm saying it, so it's true. And it's so good. Saki's character, it's so fucking perfect. I can't gush enough about how perfect this is for Saki and her character. And I was so worried because the whole Maigo and Ave Mujica, the whole series, it revolves around Saki. She's like the beating heart of the story, along with Tomori. Like, she's such a core part of the story. So I was so worried that if they messed up her character, it would have been a really show-shattering deal. It would have completely changed everything. But we have staff members who understand, and they understand Saki better than anyone. And Uika Ayano in particular, she deals with a lot of the Saki episodes. In Maigo, she did 3, 7. She might have done 13 as well. I know she might have done 10 of Maigo as well. I'm not sure. I know she did Ave Mujica episode 1 as well. So these are all Saki-centric episodes in this episode. So, I mean, the moment I saw her name on the credits list, I was like, well, obviously my worries are still going to be there, but I'm like, I should just have faith in her, because she understands this character better than anyone else, and it's shown in this episode. It's been just completely proven that she is the beating heart of this story, and she gets the conclusion she deserves, and she's not treated unfairly, because there are writers and staff that love this character like no one else. And it makes me so happy, because, like I said, if Saki's character wasn't done well, isn't concluded well, then it would have affected my entire enjoyment of the show. And then Saki's just like, let's just pretend all this bullshit, everything never happened. And she's saying this to Uika here, but she's thinking about everything. Okay, my VPN just randomly stopped working, so we're not going to be able to actually click through the episode, but obviously I can still talk about it from what I remember. But So I left off at that boat scene, and I was saying how Sakiko was saying to Uika to just forget about it all, and I was saying that this doesn't just apply to this situation. It applies to everything that Sakiko has gone through, because she stands up and just screams into the ocean that she's just tired of it and sick of it and over it all and everything. And obviously reminiscent of episode 3 of Mygo, you have Tomri on the bridge. That's like an obvious parallel. And I'm just so happy with it and how it's done. And from there on out, it feels a bit like, it does feel like a dream. It doesn't feel like reality, and I think that's done on purpose, because I'm sure, like, to Saki, she had that monologue at Uika's house where she felt the same, and she was like, I'm trying to like think about it chronologically. It's hard when the episode isn't there, but obviously they go to the Togawa house first to get all their stuff, and Tadaharu comes in, and he's like, just stop all this. Like, Uika was going to bring Saki back, basically, and in exchange, I can't remember, I needed to look at that text again, but it seemed that Tadaharu was trying to get Uika to bring Saki back. But obviously Uika brings Saki back, and then Uika's like, no, like, no, this isn't okay to just, I'm not going to betray her again, basically. She had an opportunity to make things worse than they already are, betray her again, and go against everything that she, like, basically stands for, but she doesn't. She brings Saki back, and then Saki as well is like, fuck you, basically. Like, I'm not dealing with this or going through all this bullshit anymore about the Togawas and everything. You're the one that's scared. You're the one that is hurting everyone else with these decisions. You're scared of me leaving. You're scared of everything that's been wrapped up in the Togawa name and the group and the nonsense of it all. And Saki's just like, fuck all this bullshit. Like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And she runs out into the garden, and her and Uika are able to have a good and fun time without any of these worries. And in particular, Uika can be Uika. She doesn't have to pretend to be anyone. She can make these memories with Saki as herself. And it ties into the ending and the opening being reversed, because that was where the story was meant to end, and then the opening plays at the end. And then this is basically them starting fresh, starting anew. It is a rebirth, so to say. And there's all sorts of rebirth and all that kind of text in the intermissions, and that, I mean, that is literally the entire plot of the intermissions, is them destroying their world, creating a new one, and then looking for light within it. And it's interesting now thinking about it that the intermissions, I need to reread them again, because like, this episode kind of gives a whole nother layer of context and stuff and all that to them. But the intermissions, the live intermissions, kind of tell the entire story of the anime. Like, but obviously not as explicitly, because they destroy their world. Ave Mujica gets destroyed in episode 4, basically, and then 5. Then they create a new one in episode 10, and now they're looking for the light. And this is the final act of the story, so to say, where they're looking for what makes it worthy for them to be alive, what makes it worth a life living. For Uika, it's Saki. For Nyamu, it's become Mortis and Mutsumi. For Umari, it's Ave Mujica. think for Mutsumi as well, it's sort of become Mortis, and that's another thing I kind of want to tap in and talk about a bit. Is this discussion is going to be a bit all over the place from here on out because I haven't got something to like focus on and talk about exactly there. But what happened to Mortis is one of the biggest questions I want to know. I know that I've seen in interviews the Yuzumoon talked about how during the performance they merged, but I wasn't sure if that was just for the performance or whether that is an interpretation of Yuzumoon kind of thing. Because I don't want Mortis to disappear completely. She was established as an entirely different character. So if we don't get anything of her next step, that will be disappointing. That would be disappointing if we don't see anything of Mortis, even like a mention or any character like being like, oh, so what happened to that other personality that literally broke up the band and caused so much harm for a lot of people? Like, what even happened there? But again, like I said, I have faith in these writers that the fact that they put so much effort into that plot line, I'd be surprised if they kind of just ended it so like nonchalantly, just kind of like brushed it off that Mortis is just gone. So I don't think that's the case. Maybe we'll see more next step because they will be performing, and that was a large part of Mortis's existence was to do with being in Ave Mujica and performance. But Mutsumi seems happy now, which is good, and that can only mean that she's reconciled with Mortis, like we saw in episode 10. But it's just how that is going to be presented and what kind of way that's going to be done. But we'll see about that. And yeah, we get this kind of like the whole garden scene is very dreamlike, the way it's shot and the montage aspect of it. And we get a follow-up at Uika's apartment where they're laying down and they're obviously just exhausted from everything that's happened. And we get that monologue from Saki, and she's like, this like drowsiness I feel, I want to indulge in it a bit more. I want to just let it happen, and I know that like that's the smell of the coffee, obviously signaling that she has to wake up from this. And she's like, I hate it, but she, similar to what I was mentioning, intermissions, they're aware of all this shit that's happened and everything that they've been through. They're aware that they have to go back to reality, but they're much more prepared and determined to face it head on now compared to before. And it's again, it's a parallels to Mygo 12, where we see them all sleeping peacefully. I know Mygo 11, where we see them all sleeping peacefully, and Sawyer just kind of looks down at all of them like with a very satisfied smile and expression on her face. And that's how it feels for Saki, I think, with the members now. But she's taken on a much more like, there's always been depictions and imagery and all that good stuff about Saki and the religious like aspect to her character, comparing her to Jesus in particular. Like last two episodes especially, it was very or episode 10 in particular, it was very obvious. We saw it in the crucifix music video, which was amazing, by the way. I haven't talked about that, but that was incredible. Like, obviously easily the best music video they've done so far. It's just wow. But yeah, there's very obvious religious imagery there, and but Saki even then defies all that, because she's meant to be the Jesus Christ of this story, pinned to the cross, taking on everyone's burdens and being the hero for everyone else's sake, and to embrace the suffering, not to suffer for everyone else, basically. But she defies that, And this whole episode is just Saki defying everything that's been set up for her. So this episode, she's like, I'm just going to become God herself. I'm oblivionist. I'm Saki Togawa. Like, my name, Togawa name, oblivionist. I do not fear being forgotten. I'm just going to become God. And people are going to remember me. And I can do what I like. And they're obviously gonna. It's not just the kind of thing that it's been wrapped up now. They're not going to face any more hardships. They're not going to face any more quarrels as a band. Even in Mygo, after they formed, things aren't just as easy going, you know. But this time, Saki is ready to face it all head on and take responsibility for her members' lives, but in a more genuine way compared to how she was saying it before. Because it was before, she was still doing Ave Mujica just to forget everything and just to kind of almost a coping mechanism. But now she's willing, she's in her right mind, she has her own I forgot the word, agency. She has her own agency now. And that was something I was worried that they wouldn't give her in the end. But they have, thankfully. And she's able to bring Ave Mujica back again, but this time through her own, like, this is what she wants. And she's willing to defy anything to do that and embrace and accept the other members, their weaknesses, the ugly sides of them. She's willing to just, like I said before, just face it all head on, whereas before she wasn't doing that, and she was just getting swept up in it all. And I just think that's awesome. Now we've got to talk about the message she left to Tomori, which, again, I need to reread it, but I literally just haven't got access to the episode right now, which sucks because of my VPN. But it read like a love letter to Tomori, and I think it was the Mygo 12th intermission where it was a depiction of Sakiko and Tomori walking forward together as parallel lines, and Sakiko kind of reconciling with Tomori in this way through a letter kind of links into that, in that their lives are no longer as deeply intertwined as they once were, and this isn't a story where they can be physically together, but they're both going to move forward alongside each other. And Saki recognised the strength of Tomori and her resolve to never let go of the hands that she grasped in the first place. Something that Saki struggled with, because with Kreischick they were hands that Saki held tightly, but that she felt that she was forced to let go. Her father was a hand that she wanted to grasp tightly, that she had to let go. Mutsumi was something that she had to let go. Ave Mujica was something that she had to let go. Her mother was something that she had to let go. But now she's able to make peace in those, and she's now able to grasp hands just as firmly as she did before, but hold on to them much more tighter, and value that warmth and that connection. Because before she was willing to throw a lot away for literally whatever else was in the picture at that moment. And it wasn't that she didn't treasure those things enough. It was that she didn't feel like she had any agency in her life. So those hands that she grasped so tightly would just slip from her grasp. But now she can take resolve and take inspiration from Tomori, and that is just so beautiful to think about. Tomori inspiring Sakiko, and it seems like the next episode we're getting a concert of some sort. There was a Maigo. Obviously, Maigo was there. I couldn't tell if that was in the same. I know Maigo were obviously a ring, but I couldn't tell if Ave Mujica were a ring as well. And I'm wondering whether it will be like a joint live, and the joint live will be an imitation of episode 13, or whether it will be its own thing. And I think what would be really cool is if we do see Ave Mujica and Maigo both performing, but at different times, at different places at the same time, and they are moving forward together alongside each other. But we just kind of got to see. I'm trying to think about if there's anything else in the episode that I want to talk about. I mentioned Mortis. I like that scene with Uika buying Taki a drink, where she continues to mimic other people. Like, this is exactly what Umari does, and it's the same drink. She's recognised, she notices that kind of thing, but there's just a much more genuine, positive feel to it this time. She's apologising to Taki here because she, like that time she gave her a bit of a glance, and she doesn't like Taki for the whole crisis situation. She was a bit like hostile towards her. It was quite subtle, but she was. The fact that she recognises that and apologises is really interesting and cool for Uika. She's kind of now actually being able to be someone who she wants to be, rather than putting up this mask all the time, and she's able to live more without chains holding her down. She's just more free, like the same as Saki and same as everyone in the band at this point. And I think next episode we'll probably get Ave Mujica as a band. We'll get more of their squabbles, more of their banter, but there's just not this underlying uneasiness to it all. It will just be typical band behaviour, as Maigo was in episode 11 and 12 and the start of 13. And that's just going to be so nice and refreshing to see. And I do wonder how everyone's going to act with each other, because I wonder as well whether Saki or Uika will tell the other members about what happened. There is still so much that can be explored and talked about and brought up, but we obviously don't have the time to think about and address it all. And like I said, we have the games and the joint live, so there are other opportunities to explore aspects of it. But I am genuinely surprised that this episode was a conclusive one and a happy ending at that. And I do wonder if the whole kind of dreamlike feel to it, which by the way is pretty reminiscent of the start of Maigo episode 11, where I forget the author. It's the dream about being a butterfly, and he dreams whether he is a human or a butterfly, and it's in this kind of like middling state, kind of just floating, unsure of your existence, and being reborn as one or the other. I forget that it's a classic piece of literature, and I probably completely butchered that description, but it applies here to Ave Mujica and that whole, and Saki in particular, and that whole like whimsical kind of dreamlike scene. And I wonder just how much of it will be real, if you get what I mean. Like, there is almost a sense of this is all too good to be true. I'm not trying to say that next episode they're going to completely pull the rug and none of this kind of happened kind of thing, but there's a weird uneasiness to it, which does feel very realistic, and I kind of resonate with it a bit, where you feel like you don't deserve to be experiencing these happy things. And it captured a feeling, it captured a kind of a scene that I haven't really seen captured like that before, especially in a show like this. So I do wonder what the vibe with the next episode is going to be in general. Like, how is it going to feel? Because that's an important thing, is whether this next episode will be like just a very typical BanG Dream epilogue episode. We'll get them all performing very happily. But I remember that in My Go, post episode 10, there were some incredible lines from Soyo towards Taki and Tomori in particular. And I just wonder whether... I don't even wonder whether, because they're definitely going to have some really meaningful lines of dialogue in this next episode between characters. Like Umri still needs some closure. We need Mortis and Mutsumi, that kind of to be addressed a little. And Saki even just towards everyone else who is now deciding to be God. Because why the fuck not? Why not? And I just like that she's finally taking a hold of the reins of her own life. When we've seen life just completely throw her and bash her around this whole series, and she's had to put on masks to hide this pain, to push people away, to act like it isn't even affecting her. But now she can just be her, and it just does feel like a sigh of relief and a breath of fresh air and a weight off your shoulders to think about Saki being able to just be herself and be in a band. I was going to say as a normal person, but it's funny because she's embracing that whole thing that's been set up, that everyone puts Saki on a pedestal. And I mentioned it in a previous episode. I can't remember which one I mentioned it, but Saki is just put on a pedestal by every single character in the show, essentially. And the show isn't being like kind of bringing her down to earth. The Saki is embracing that position, and she has this charisma, this aura, this ego to uphold that position correctly. And this is what separates this kind of episode and this conclusion to a lot of other shows that do this kind of thing, where it all just kind of gets sorted out and it feels a bit rushed. This episode does feel a bit rushed for sure. Like the pacing has the whole season. There is a bit of a feeling that it could do with a couple more episodes, but Saki embracing that position of being on that pedestal and kind of just giving in to her own desire of what she wants. This controlling factor that we've seen her take on such a authoritative role, but it was always kind of masked in. It wasn't really her. It was at the same time, because that is just who she is. We saw it in Cryshik, we see it in Ave Mujica, and now she can take on that role as herself. I feel like I'm just kind of rambling on now without any real direction. Like I said, I'd love to have the episode up and talk about it more. Maybe if there's always stuff I miss every episode because it's Ave Mujica and it's a show that has so much to it, and so much dialogue and direction and visuals that I don't pick up on the first watch. That after being on Twitter and the comments and reading everything that everyone says, there's always something new I pick up, and there's always different angles and different interpretations and theories to think about. So obviously there'll be stuff I missed, but if there's like particular like scenes that I just weren't too focused on because I haven't got the episode up and I can't look through it, which is annoying, I will address it at the beginning of the last episode. So yeah, this is the penultimate episode, and I finally feel good after finishing an episode of Ave Mujica. And I know a lot of people are going to be a bit disappointed that the drama isn't continuing, that there isn't another twist in the tale, that this is all being, that everything is just kind of good now. But I'm just so happy for these girls, and it's what they deserve, and it just makes me really, like, genuinely happy to see them in a good place for once. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week for the final episode of Ave Mujica, which is crazy, but yeah, I'll see you guys then. Thank you.